Moments aren't simply lived anymore. They're assessed for whether they should be recorded. There's a subtle shift that happens the instant you reach for your phone. A living experience becomes material, content, an artificial representation of life. And without realizing it, you step further away from the real world. We live in an age where documenting everything feels perfectly natural. A sunset becomes content. Conversation becomes material. Even the quiet parts of life become things that we need to collect. We justify it as saving memories, preserving connections, or capturing inspiration. But something essential gets lost in that process. Not the moment itself, but your contact with it. But the memory that remains feels strangely hollow and sterile. You might take photos at a gathering and later realize that the real texture of that night, the atmosphere, the depth of the conversations never reached you. You record your friends laughing, but suddenly feel like a spectator, observing your life from the outside. You are present in the physical sense, but not in the deeper sense that makes that moment real. Instead, life begins to feel secondhand. It changes your relationship to the moment profoundly. Once you frame something, you start analysing it, how it looks, how it can be interpreted, how it might appear later. The lens becomes a thin barrier, an almost invisible wall that places you slightly outside of the moment. You no longer encounter the event directly, and what disappears in that shift is the very thing you were trying to capture in the first place. The immediacy, the weight, the sense that this is actually happening to you. Here's the deeper paradox. The more you try to preserve something real, the more that realness slips through your fingers. The sense of awe, connection, the feeling of being alive, they matter because they cannot be stored, they cannot be captured, they can't be simulated. Their significance comes from the fact that they're not only real, but they're fleeting. And when you try to freeze them, you convert them into symbols. They stop being experiences and they become representations. Files, proof, data. They become unreal, detached from the living moment that produced them. What you end up saving is the appearance of a moment, not the truth of it. This might sound abstract, but reality doesn't reveal itself when you approach it from the position of a curator. It isn't something you can capture. It's something that discloses itself on its own terms when you meet it directly. Not to display it, not to turn it into evidence, not to convert it into something consumable. Think about the last time you had a genuine conversation. One where you forgot to check your phone, you got lost in the moment, you forgot how you looked, you forgot everything except what was being said. That conversation felt real in a way that staged conversations never do. Not necessarily because the words produced were profound, but because you were actually there. The real withdraws from the spectator, but appears to the participant. The person inside the moment, rather than standing outside it, thinking about how it will look later. And in a world full of recordings, representations, reenactments, the real becomes increasingly rare. People feel disconnected, not because the world lacks meaning, but because they've trained themselves to stand a distance from it. Live long enough in that mode, and the world thins out. It becomes abstract, hollow, performative. But when you stop converting everything into material, the world sharpens again. It regains weight and texture. It becomes real. Now, this isn't an argument against photography and technology. It's a reminder that documenting costs something. It extracts you from the moment. It replaces the event with an image of the event. And if your life becomes dominated by these images, by depictions, representations, then slowly, quietly, you lose a grip of what is true and what is staged. In a world terrified of missing something, people record everything. And in doing so, they overlook the thing that they were trying to keep. So here's another way to think about it. The moments that stay with you, the ones that shape you, are often the ones that you never tried to preserve. The laughter you didn't film, the conversations that no one else witnessed, the experiences that only exist in memory and not on a camera roll. Maybe the way back to reality isn't about better curation, but through letting life be unedited. Messy, fleeting, fully lived. So over the next week, let one moment unfold without reaching for your phone. Let it be yours alone. You might be surprised what returns when you stop trying to capture life and instead start allowing yourself to live it. That's what this channel is all about. An experiment in that direction. Not performing authenticity, not curating a public story, but asking what happens when you stop turning your life into material and start rebuilding your relationship to the real world.